Ready whenever you are.
Go ahead and start this meeting off. We'll do roll call. Supervisor Sabatier.
I'm right here.
And caffeinated.
There you go, John.
I am here and I'm also caffeinated. Yay.
Terry Lyons. Terry Joe.
Here.
All right. Who else do we have? Was that the full deal?
And you.
And me. I'm here. All right. Jordan.
Well, I'm
you're-
not part of the committee.
Yeah.
I'm just, yeah.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh,
Yeah, just wait.
All right. Any items that need to be added to the agenda that anyone can think of?
We did not get anything emailed to us.
All right, with that being said, we'll move on to any board action, which is the minutes of August 7th,
Can I
2023.
back you up for a second?
Yes.
I would like to add a 9.2
Okay.
on consideration of supporting allocating funds.
Okay. Awesome.
Apologize for that. I was just thinking that maybe we should get the approval of this group before doing anything else.
Yeah, no, that's perfect opportunity to do so. Okay, so then we'll add the item 9.2.
All right.
Do we need to?
So yeah, I think we
Make a
can-
motion.
And so
yes.
the reason for the extra item today is our next meeting is 2 months from now. We're in the midst of conversations on the validation study. PG&E is brought up oftentimes by the Army Corps. PG&E has resubmitted to us putting a down payment for them to do the design of what needs to happen. And so I think that we need to get some kind of approval or denial from this group to move forward with allocating those funds rather than waiting 2 months to put it on the next agenda. So that's why I would like to add it as an extra item, because I think the time frame is too long before the next meeting.
Efficient.
Yes.
All right, so is there a motion to add this to the agenda?
I move to accept the agenda as amended.
I second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 9.2 is now that item. All right, any other additions? All right. Minutes 3.1, August 7th minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at them?
Yes, and I had some comments.
Okay,
Under the Bloody Island, Bodono Poti, there was, it was mainly, the text under that item was for the United States Army Corps of Engineers section. There wasn't really much on Bloody Island under that heading in the minutes.
Okay.
I don't know if we had much discussion on Bloody Island, but what discussion is described there belongs under the Army Corps section.
oh, that's right. I remember we talked about it in both sections.
Yeah. So maybe the timing is right, but the information is miscast.
Okay, we can make that
Yeah.
modification.
It's a more
Yeah, just
general
move it.
discussion. for the
Yeah, so
whole-
just move that to where
Whole project area.
Corps is.
Yep, I see it right there. And, all right, anything else? Any other concerns? All right. Anyone from the public?
Shout out to. There's nothing in the chat.
All right, we'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the meeting minutes as amended.
And I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with amendments. Item 4, project area parcel acquisition, 4.1. Updates and next steps with parcel acquisitions of willing sellers.
All right, so I am gonna actually have Jordan Beaton, our program coordinator here, who has been doing a phenomenal job. The board may be familiar that there have been quite a few things that have been presented to the board as of late. So Jordan has done a great job of getting things going. So I'm gonna pass it over to Jordan to give us a brief
Alrighty.
update, and then I will chime in when need to.
Okay.
This
So
is a surprise to her.
escrow is closed for Sealy. Yay!
Yay!
It's been a long process. Currently in escrow with Narvaez, Rec, and Chandler. I have received the escrow instructions and they were just signed this morning by Scott De Leon. So Nate, I will be sending them to you after this meeting, after I scan them in. County sending letters to, you read every single parcel? Do I need to read every single parcel?
No, you can just say the names if you want, and then
Okay.
if people have questions.
Robinson, Fry, Lopez, Villegas, sending letters of interest. And we are still working on the DWR approved appraisals for Clear Lake Duck Club, Frias, Luna Gaming, Coker, and Berrigan. We have those are in process. Revised appraisals have been sent to me and I've sent them to DWR, sent them to Nate for Seychow and Vets Midian. Yay! So as soon as those are approved, we will get the ball rolling on those.
I have a question. Oh,
Yes.
Is it too soon?
Nope, it is not too soon.
Is Robinson the Rancheria properties?
Yeah, it's one of them.
Yeah.
One or two.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I
there's
have
a whole
terrible
bunch of
eyesight.
APNs.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 looks
There you
like.
go, 5 different. So
What happened to they're working? They're not gonna sell. What happened to working with the Army Corps? I thought they were.
it's in process. The Army Corps has had meetings with Robinson. They just recently had a meeting and I don't know the exact outcome of that.
And just as a clarification, all of those are not in trust. They're all
No.
fee.
Yep.
And that's where the issue still stands because of the fact that the federal government eventually needs to have all of the properties in their hands. Our properties that we're purchasing as a local district, we pass it over to the federal government for the project to move forward. From what I understand, it seems more palatable or seems more appropriate in the sense that trusted land is already federal land. So that means that there's less of an issue, but probably, some MOUs or something that has to be signed to approve moving forward with that. But when it comes to fee, whether it's owned by tribal or owned by any other individual that's not tribal government, it's still seen as a private ownership outside of the federal government or the local district. And so those
So-
properties are what is being worked on to figure out how to make that happen.
So is Robinson only discussing the entrust properties with the Army Corps? Or are they discussing all of them?
I don't know.
Probably the trust. I don't know why they would talk about the others. They're still in fee, right? They
Yeah.
would be talking with us about the fee status.
So I don't know if it's on the table or not, and the discussion is somewhat vague here, so I think I can talk about it. If there's a way to have a conversation with Robinson to say, here is an agreement that we are going to purchase it, and as soon as this is done, we will sell it back to you with obviously the same type of deed restrictions that would occur on all the land. That's gonna be a part of it, just because I don't want to take anything from them, but if the fact that it's seen as private property is still going to be an issue from the Army Corps, and if it has any delays or anything on this project, if there's a way that we can come with an agreement saying, look, this is only a temporary purchase. As soon as we're done, we'd love to give it right back to you, because obviously we know most likely, I'm making this up, but I think most likely they want to place those in trust. And I don't want to take that right away from them.
Yeah.
I just want to help this project out and have some, if we can have it in writing. So
And do an
I would be
easement
okay
deed,
with that. I don't know how the rest of the group feels. But to me, it's an option of how to help move it forward if it's a sticking point when it comes to Army Corps, because obviously the issue here is not who owns the property, it's how Army Corps perceives these properties' status in allowing the project to move forward. So
Right.
to me, that's the focus, is trying to get Army Corps to accept where we are with everything.
And we do have a hand raised in the Zoom room. We have Daniela Santana. Go ahead, Daniela, whenever you're ready.
This is not for Robinson property, but it is for the Luna Gaming parcel. I know that Marina and EJ went and talked to Hub and Mental Council, but did you guys talk to them specifically about the Luna Gaming parcel?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay,
you will
And-
give that update.
and,
Go ahead.
okay, and you let them know that that was going before DWR for appraisal?
It's already approved appraisal.
Yeah, I know, but it's the tribes, but did you let them know in that meeting?
No, I don't think it was approved at that time. That meeting
It
took
has been
place.
approved for over a year.
Okay,
Yeah, or like a year and a half.
so then we'll need to communicate that
Okay,
So,
with the council.
Yeah, because historically that parcel had already
I
been
just missed-
discussed.
no, wait, yes.
previously.
It was approved,
Wait, sorry, what was that, Daniela?
sorry.
Historically, that parcel has already been discussed with the council, with a whole different committee, with a whole different board of supervisors on what was gonna happen.
Mhm. Thank you. And then Jordan, what was that? Sorry.
That's okay. No, I was just saying it was approved in 2022 for 2 parcels, portion of 2 parcels.
And I don't know what the discussion has been with Abematol, but I would also say that I would support the same type of concept where
Yeah,
we're not trying to
Like-
purchase their land.
we haven't
and-
updated you, but we have already kind of come to a conclusion on
Oh,
that.
then I'll wait for that update. Sounds like the conversations have already happened and
So back to Robinson. I thought, weren't there was there going to be a meeting with Robinson in the last 2 months? I thought,
Yeah,
Army Corps of Engineers did have, I believe her name is Michelle, she's their ACE tribal liaison. She did have a meeting with them. I just don't know the exact outcome. I do know that the ring levy was they do not want to do the ring levy. They want to do the option 2, I think it's called. I don't remember it. Anybody else? This ringing any bells from the Army Corps of Engineers meeting?
I don't want to
Let me
speak for
just-
them anymore.
Okay, that's fair.
But I do know that we were trying to set up a meeting internally with Robinson, and I know there was, with staff turnover, it was difficult to get.
I just don't know where the leadership goes with specific things anymore. I'll say one thing and then it'll change, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I understand.
Mhm.
So that the meeting that was said was going to happen in the minutes did not happen.
That is correct.
Yes,
We-
we reached out. I reached out, but couldn't get, we had one planned and then it
Got
yeah,
moved.
it got moved. And so tried again, and the only one we were able to meet with was Heben as well.
So then I think this is a good part then, if you don't mind providing just a brief update on that discussion that we did have.
Right, and so we went in and talked with them about the parcel and Luna Gaming. I know that Sherry gave us a history on the whole situation as to why they had to keep it the way it was, because they used it as some sort of asset for their loan or something like that. And then the intent was to ensure that there was like a swap for property that they were interested, rather than keeping that parcel, so that it doesn't affect that whole project. They can swap it, we can make a deal. And I think that's what we're looking at, is putting some paper into something on the paper and getting it to them. And I know that's what we had talked about, and that's really kind of where it ended. there
So
might be
this
a-
is property owned by somebody else?
The property is owned by the county that they're requesting.
it makes it a whole lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
We have to go purchase something else in order to exchange it, would have made it more difficult. That's awesome. I appreciate that those conversations occurred. And I think finding that common ground on how we can move forward is exactly what we're looking for, so we can make this project continue moving forward. So thank you.
I do think it'd be appropriate to set up another discussion in the near future with the
Mhm.
approved appraisal and
Okay.
just provide next and discuss next steps on how we actually make this come to be, instead of, yeah, this is, this would be great, let's work
Yeah.
with you.
Keep
So,
in touch with them, yeah.
so then I will pull in Nate with DWR just to discuss, once we have, a stronger understanding of how that path is gonna look,
Mhm.
what DWR's role would be in that, and then if we need to loop in, Army Corps as well.
Right, I know that one of I'm not really necessarily, I'm using this for a historical purpose, but I know in the past 2000s with Robinson,
Mhm.
there was a thought to switch some of the properties, not the new properties, but the old ones that we're talking about that were in fee. Switch those for a trust status on the lakefront property. But at the time, it wasn't something that would be done because Feinstein did not want to see another casino built there.
Mhm.
At the time, the folks that wanted to do that were looking to do a casino. I don't think the new leadership is, but they change every 2 years. I think the concern too, Bruno, with the situation where you're saying that we'll sell it back. If there's a new leadership, we're kind of stuck with the same situation. I think Daniela brought it up that a leadership at a different time had stated something, and I think that, you know, that might be a concern, but we'd have to make sure it just stays, you know, in the highlight if that's one of those situations. So, but I'm bringing that up for historical purposes. But I don't know if that's the
It's a
same.
nice
way.
wetlands.
Yeah.
The land trust looked at the property adjacent to it that's for sale.
Was it,
Montanos.
okay, yeah,
Ring a bell?
yeah, yeah.
I would suspect that if we can, whatever agreement, whatever that looks like, with Robinson, that having it in writing, in my opinion, should overshadow the issues of leadership. If there's an agreement between the county and Robinson, if you and I are gone, the county still has to abide to what the agreement said.
Mhm.
And I would suspect that Robinson would be able to do the same. And if there needs to be a change, then we can all come back to the table, different characters, to say, let's amend this agreement. And again, both parties would have to agree on how to amend it. So hopefully that is as simple as I think it could be. But
Stay tuned. Is that what
I
you're
would
saying?
say if you and I were in, yeah, I think it just depends on who would follow with our position.
Yeah,
Because
no.
some people don't get along with tribes and will do what they can to back out of deals because they don't feel, or they feel tribes have gaming
If
money.
it's
or
signed,
something.
sealed and
So,
delivered.
yeah, well, it's a vote, it's three-person vote away from changing, even
Yeah.
if it's signed, I mean.
Yeah.
Gee, and why wouldn't they trust you?
Well, history has something to do with it too.
And then, so as it relates to parcel acquisition, so our agreement with Monument right now is getting close to coming to an end, and with the extension in our DWR agreement, we're looking at making an amendment for Monument to continue right-of-way services. The scope will be slightly different. We don't have that on the agenda just yet. Is that correct?
It is not on the agenda. It's
I'm
going.
thinking like
for
October
board
9th.
Approval. Oh, no. With
October
this
19th.
agenda or
Board.
it's for October 17th?
Okay, yeah,
For
so, yep, and it'd be amendment, looking at a 3-year contract.
Mhm.
So understanding that there's still work to do after that, but again, part of me gets hesitant to do anything longer than 3 years, see how the work continues to play out. So, that'll be exciting. And then we do have the map that Mary Jo created. I promise we put it in this agenda, so it's in this presentation. So if there's any updates to this, Mary Jo, just go ahead and email that to us. And then for the next meeting, we can provide that. And I don't know, did you want to speak upon this at all?
Just that in the blue, I included the Robinson lands because my understanding is they were on board with becoming a wetlands. But
I would say, let's go ahead and make the modification. And we can set up a separate meeting to talk about this, how we want to outline that. It's, you know, until we get something more formalized on that end, whether it be an agreement or whatnot. But I do like having the graph there because it makes me feel like we're doing great things. when you see it.
I realize I could disclose something, and I think this will give better perspective as to what's going on with Robinson. I recently submitted candidacy for a lower position than chair, so I can be on the council for things like this. One of the situations is that I would be able to kind of make these meetings happen, if that makes sense. Whereas when I was on before, we were able to have, situations where we can actually be at the table, or right now I can't even get on their agenda sometimes. So with that, it would really help. But in the meantime, there's people on there that I'm running against. So, politics has another part of it, but nonetheless, I know they still have concern about it, but I think that may be kind of, it might be part of the issue. But I don't know, but I do know that if it does pan out, that's one of the things that I feel that will really help. I'm gonna talk to Lloyd about how that looks in representing, not representing, but being at the table for both in some instances. I'll probably have to recuse my votes on the
Board side.
either the board side or the council side, but I would figure out which one is ideal for that. But one of my main focus for this situation is so that we really have some sort of connection and something I can bring to the table at their level. Because there's no Brown Act there's no Brown Act, requirements there or anything that hinders me that way. So like when we talk about like what you just brought up, I could say, hey, what are we gonna do with this? We'd like to see, and also have someone that's representing come to the meeting and give the insight. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that,
Go ahead.
And just on the Robinson lands, I would be okay with completed if it's land that's in trust.
Okay,
If it's not in trust, just a bad joke, it's in the gray area, but you already
No.
have gray.
Yeah.
but they never sent
But,
in a
but
letter either.
until we know exactly what they want, let's not assume where those properties would fall
Okay.
in on there. And so maybe have an unknown category rather than
Yeah.
unwilling, or, because I don't want to put them in a box.
okay,
Where we're in
Okay.
process and they're like, you, what? You're in the process of buying the properties?
You can have a TBD, to be
Yeah,
determined.
and so I just think that until we know for a fact, based on correspondence that we've
Yeah.
received, that we can go ahead and slide them in a specific category, but right now I would say that it's an unknown, and until further conversations, we'll go ahead and figure out where they
Okay.
belong on that.
They also never submitted the document saying willing or not willing,
Yeah.
right? Or did they, that said not willing?
I don't know.
I'd have to check.
I think
Yeah, I'd have
they
to
just
check our
didn't send
files.
it in, is what it was, yeah.
Yeah, and it's been difficult just to have conversations with Corolla being gone.
So-
I know she
Well,
was
do
very,
you want me to modify this?
yeah, let's go ahead and modify. I do think a gray area of unknown is a good buffer. So,
Okay.
yeah,
All right,
and then let us
Rather
know
than
if you need
not willing.
anything with that, Mary Jo, but yeah, we appreciate that. So on the topic.
I don't think so. It would,
Yeah,
I
it's
would,
been
yeah.
hard to-
I think if there is correspondence, I don't know what that correspondence would look like, but if there is correspondence, I would say a request for who is the point
Yeah.
person for the Middle Creek Restoration Project for us to communicate with. Before in the past, we knew it was Corolla. It seems like right now, we're not quite certain who it is that we would.
What I can do is email the Secretary Treasurer Irene, because she was the
Yeah.
EDA director
And I
during
know
the time of this, so.
She's been to this meeting. multiple
Yeah, and
times.
that's my biggest thing is I just want to make sure that they do have whoever that contact is, they're on the listserv, so they get the meeting invites and they have the ability to, represent themselves.
No,
So,
they're an important stakeholder to know what's going on and where we're at.
all right, so on the topic of unwilling, we have the Whitfield / Christensen property. So Jordan has been working with our consultants to do outreach. So, okay, yeah, and I'll have Jordan go into specific details, but basically we had a meeting with our legal office here and then our consultants as it relates.
Could you tell me the names again?
Christensen Whitfield. It's
Same
referred to,
name.
yeah, same name. Father's name was Christensen, but the trustee's now in Whitfield, the daughter. So
This is
Bloody Island.
Bloody Island.
Yeah. So we had discussions with our legal, basically, as we are well aware, that property is up for sale right now. We've tried to reach out, we sent a letter of interest, we had our consultants reach out saying, hey, we're interested in this project or this parcel for acquisition for the Middle Creek project. Are you well aware? Our consultants get a response back from Whitfield saying that she is not interested in talking about the project. And if we are interested in buying the parcel, then we can submit a quote or a bid. But as we know, yes, we can go through her realtor, but as we know, we cannot just acquire a parcel straight out. We have to go through the appraisal process. So it sounded like they wouldn't even let us on the property to do an appraisal.
That was before, so she just reached out and she said that she wasn't interested in talking to Monument about what needs to be done, and if we were interested in purchasing the property, we needed to talk to the realtor. So Monument is reaching out to the realtor to, hey, did you know that this is in a project area and we really want to buy it? And here's our steps. We have to follow these guidelines. You know, are you able to work with us? And I don't know if we
Know the
have
the
heard
response.
anything back or if
You
Monument's been
don't-
able to do that
Who's
yet.
the
but
realtor?
That's what I was about to look up.
I do not remember the name.
That's where Zillow comes in.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, I was gonna say,
look it
I
up.
we
It's
just
on
drove
there.
by it and
wanna
I-
say It's of somebody named Greg.
think it was a
Um,
green sign. That doesn't help, but.
Better Homes?
Mm, maybe,
Oh, I don't know, actually.
yeah.
So Monument's in process to reach out to the realtor and have those discussions. It's not gonna be for the price that she wants, so that will be an
It's
issue.
probably like 5 times the amount that.
Our, consultants kind of were saying, you know, it's listed as 1.8 and it's probably worth 800,000. So we'll see. We'll see what.
Did you say 9 point?
it
No,
was listed for
1.8.
And it's
Worth
probably
pointing.
worth roughly $1 million less.
Yeah.
But
Well, they're
that's
not
just
gonna get an offer.
talk, well, yeah. Well, and then that's where it gets really sticky because if she does sell it for, 1.8 or close to that, whoever buys that property, we're just gonna reach out right away and be like, hey, what you just bought is in a
It's-
project area that
It's
is going
Coldwell
to be.
Banker.
Coldwell
Oh,
Banker.
well,
Okay.
Stacy.
Well, I don't know where Greg came from.
It's Daniel Rogers.
Oh, okay.
So it's 2 first names, that's where.
There you go. It's
At
close.
least it was a guy. Um,
So,
Yeah, it gets sticky because then that buyer, if a buyer buys it, they have potential right to sue
the seller,
the seller for for not disclosing that information. And then that seller, the new person, the new buyer would then, sell to us in theory for so much less, they'd be losing
Yeah, I mean, that's,
so much money.
that's a
is
reputable
all-
realtor company. I'm sure that if Monument's telling them about the project, that
Yeah.
they're not gonna let the seller get away.
Hopefully,
Oh, no.
right, well, it just gets sticky. I mean,
Yeah.
it just,
Yeah.
so
you know.
again, something for us to keep in mind. We're still actively working on it, but again, yeah, we can't just if we're planning on using DWR funds, we can't just throw a quote
We can't
in.
negotiate anything.
No.
We need appraisal.
So,
There's no negotiation.
No, but once we do go through the process, it does open up the potential for negotiations because we have paid out of our own county
Oh,
funds
yeah,
to compensate for one
Yes.
of the properties that we purchased. We used DWR for the appraisal and we added on, as long as it's an accepted
Yes.
agreement and not an out of this
And the
world.
Yeah.
fact that it's gonna take a while and they're not gonna get any takers on that property for that, because it will never appraise that much. I mean, it'd have to be somebody that just wanted to burn money
Yeah.
to purchase that.
But there's always a chance that they would take a lower offer. You can't.
Yes.
never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So It's good to keep moving on this.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
definitely keep moving.
But I think it's really good that the Monument will
Yeah.
talk to Caldwell Banker, real estate agents, real estate agent, and tell them what's going on. Would it always be less attractive to someone, this is a philosophical question, would it always be less attractive to someone to know that the property they're interested in is involved in a big government project? Or would there be somebody who'd say, oh, I'm gonna buy that, maybe I'll,
I don't know anyone that would want to buy a house that's in a project area.
yeah, that you're
That is
gonna,
about to become an island.
Yeah.
Especially, and I say this purposefully, that if you ask for something outlandish, eventually the only avenue we have is to take the property
Yeah.
through court
right,
means.
right.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't put anybody who owns it in a good position. If,
Right.
if the agreement is within our range of what seems decent of a price, then we'll do it. But if it's outlandish,
Yeah.
we're gonna go through eminent domain. That's our only other avenue that we have.
and that's why I'm hoping, because this is just bigger than a
And I
local
would hate
government
to
project.
Do that
Yeah.
for this property, because just that kind of action on that property looks horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, there's Army Corps involved and ultimately it's their project. So, I do think those conversations and that information is pertinent to any potential buyer. Again, as we've all said, if I was gonna buy that property, I would want to know that, because I'm not even gonna, deal with it. So hopefully the conversations between Monument and the Realtor will go well, and then depending on what they decide, then.
Is it both of the properties together for the 1.8? Because I know it's split, or is it just one of the two?
I think it's just one of the two, but don't quote me on that.
I
We
thought it
can,
was the whole.
the whole
kit and
shebang. Okay.
Yeah, it says
Yeah,
40 acres,
because
and
I-
I just
I
don't have the
had
GIS to
heard that
see.
This seller is listing it so high because it is historic land,
It
which I
is
think is
exactly.
really icky.
Yeah, that is.
Well,
Um,
and that's what, when I talked to Al, because he was having issues with the MA7, the MA17.
Oh, yeah,
plans.
MA17,
Yeah.
yep.
And so when I asked him, I was like, well, are you all gonna ever consider selling, like when it comes to this whole situation because of the MA17 pieces? Because everyone that sells, now the burden goes to everyone
Yeah.
that still holds.
Mhm.
And because he thought that we were just driving it out to get him out of there. And I says, well, it's not, it kind of seems that way, but it's not. We're just taking all the responsibility. And so and I says, are you ever looking at selling? He's like, well, I'm selling it for the fact that it's a historical site and there's a lot that happened here. And so if the tribe wants it, let them know that,
Yeah.
it's always been a pitch to the tribe. And I know that the Lucy Moore Foundation was looking to buy it and had cash in hand not cash in hand, but they had made like an offer of $400,000 or so, 350 to 400. And the Owl was like, no, it's a historic site. We want, at that time, probably like $1.2 million. And so.
It is one parcel number.
Okay.
It's only one, because the southern one is, at least on our GIS, says acres as drawn 40.1, assessed acres 39.79, and on Zillow it says it's selling 40.5.
Hmm.
So it's within the range, and the other one is 11 acres, so
Okay.
it would be completely off. So this is only looking at the southern portion, in my opinion.
Okay.
So we still need to figure out what action needs to be taken for the northern piece.
But the same owners,
I thought it was two separate.
was it two? Because it's Christensen and.
So
Whitfield.
Whitfield
she's-
is the
yeah,
daughter
yeah.
of Christensen.
Christensen
So that's the
passed.
same person.
It's
It's
the
the
same,
same-
yes.
She was Jennifer Christensen in high school, and I think her married name is Whitmore. Because I coached her son, his name is Whitmore.
Okay.
And the northern section of.
No, Whitfield.
Or
Whitfield.
Whitfield, I'm sorry, yeah,
Whitfield.
yeah.
And then
I don't know why I said Whitmore.
I was like, wait, now we're just throwing in another name.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, drink your caffeine.
And the northern section, is it also owned by
It's-
Christensen and
I
Whitfield?
think there might be, I think there might be a brother or something.
Yeah, I don't think it's the last, it's a
It's not
different.
completely disconnected,
Yeah.
but it is
Greg.
separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so any questions on that? And then, just in general, we're still on the non-willing seller.
That's not supposed to be bold and red, sorry.
Oh,
It's supposed to be changed. Sorry.
that's totally
I
fine.
didn't get a chance to talk to you.
That is totally fine. Again, we're having a discussion on non-willing sellers. I know the big scary term eminent domain has come up, but that's something that we as a committee need to eventually bring forward to the Board of Supervisors for a recommendation on how do we start addressing these non-willing sellers? How do we start having those discussions? I know, we need to have conversations with legal first, so maybe that's the direction we have an ad hoc committee. Again, I'm more than happy to be on that ad hoc committee and start a conversation with legal and then some members on this committee, but I know we've had lingering discussions, we've just never made any formal path forward. So if we want to do that today, we can. If not, we can bring it back in the December meeting, but as I said before, I don't think it's always too soon to start talking about this, because then we need to get input from Army Corps and start whatever process needs to take place.
I think if we just start getting county council's take on it and get it to the board to see where the board's at with it, and then it gives the chance for whoever owns property in that area to come to that meeting. And kind of, that might be a way to attract them to the table. to see where we can go from there. And
It's a
then,
more
you know,
official
you know,
thing to say, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about some of the other ones, but I know that Hanston is willing to sell, but for the right price. So the appraisal that was done long ago
Obviously was
was
not approved by.
not the right
Hanston.
price for him.
mhm.
And his real estate agent also said
Well,
that.
did they
So,
counter? Like
I don't know.
Montanos did?
What's the
No.
name again for that one?
Bob
Hanston.
Hanston,
I don't think they countered. They just said that they were not
yeah,
fine with that.
he has renters on that property.
Yeah.
He lives in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Oh, someone might mention to him that another
We're reaching back
seller
out.
countered and
Yeah,
so just, I mean,
I talked to him.
Because there's a process for that. They can do their own appraisal and we can, you know, if we want to use the DJR funds, but then there's other,
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
opportunities. I get,
I think he needs a little more communicate.
yeah. So,
Or we're just way too far away from what he wants, and so.
Well, it was way too far away.
It's always too
Back
far
in the
away.
day, but that appraisal was done, no, like 5
That
years
was-
ago or
yeah.
something, so
Did it with
things have
the
changed.
like-
It might be
yeah,
more
yeah.
appealing
And
now.
the bump in the Montanos was a very good thing for the land trust.
Oh, there we go. So,
So, my response to your comments and kind of question to this group is yes.
Okay.
I don't know when the last time we ever did eminent domain. I don't believe that we've done any of that for the Soda Bay, Soda Bay,
Corridor.
sorry, for the, South Main
Oh, yeah.
expansion. I don't believe we've done any of that. I think everybody's kind of accepted selling us a piece of the property, but it wasn't a whole lot, so I think that was easier. But yeah, no, we need to have the parallel track as we continue to negotiate and work with those that are willing to communicate with us. We need to start I'll just be blunt, applying the pressure of the idea that eminent domain is gonna have to be our only last resort option if we can't get them back to the table to negotiate something that is meaningful.
Yeah.
Right now, not giving us a number or being way out of the world, it does not help us.
Perfect. Does anyone want to be in those conversations with me from the committee?
About imminent domain.
Uh-huh.
So quick question, why would you need some of us? Because it's a process following statute of what process is available. So I don't know that we would change anything other than eventually you would come back to the Board of Supervisors or us, I don't know what
Yeah.
order that would happen, saying, here's the process. And I don't know that we would have much say in what that process looks like.
Well, Bruno, I'm all about sharing the fun. So I want to leave that door open on those conversations.
You just
You're
made me
very-
want to say no. That
You are very generous.
No, but I would like to bring any direction or any input or guidance from legal back to the committee. I think it'd be appropriate to go through the committee and we as a committee, and of course I could facilitate that, go to the Board of Supervisors. But that way we can show to the board, I know we have 2 board members here, but demonstrate to the board that we've had this conversation, you know, in the Middle Creek Project Committee meetings, and then based off of those dialogues that we've had in the committee meetings and guidance from legal, this is the direction that.
I'd be happy to join the.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you. I know. Yeah, I think that, and I think that.
However, I can offer my support.
Oh, yay, we love support. Okay, so I will set up a discussion in the near future, definitely before the December meeting, so I'll put that as an action item.
Okay.
See,
Yeah, and I think it's just a matter of getting in touch with county counsel's office, like Lloyd, tell them what we're looking at, give direction back, and then we bring it to the board.
yeah, because,
I'd love to know the answer. How can we use this
Mm-hmm.
as a tool to continue discussions without having to use it? Is that even legal? I don't even know that. to be
Yeah.
honest
Yeah,
with
like our goal is really just to say, like, we're at this, kind of,
you. Impasse.
yeah, we have to figure out something, and we'd much rather make a deal with you that's,
yeah, benefits both
more,
of us,
yeah, that's more, yeah.
than the alternate route.
okay, awesome, so I will do that, and then, yeah, it might take Lloyd some time to do some research and figure out a tactic. He's very good at that, though. He's very good at approach. So, okay, I will set up that meeting before the December.
And then maybe figuring out, is this something that Monument does? Or is this something that we do internally? That's something else that we need to look at, because capacity of staff to
Yeah.
be able to do these things, I don't know if that would be on county council's office,
Mhm.
because it's such a law-heavy process.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know what is Monument's experience with dealing with any of those things, just to see if we can lean on them.
Jordan's like, great, she'll ask. Yeah, I do agree. I'm very much in favor of, I mean, just acknowledging we don't have the expertise or the capacity, but maybe county council does need to take the charge on this. But if we can get guidance and support from Monument, especially when it comes just to the outreach and engagement, then that could be beneficial. But another thing to keep in mind, if we do onboard a consultant, we would have to use funds from elsewhere. We couldn't go in we couldn't go into the contract that we have currently. We would have to find those funds somewhere in the,
We can't use DWR money. No.
no, only for willing sellers. Perfect, love
So
that.
what if DW, what if it is like a willing seller, but that wants to trade, like, you know, the Luna Gaming thing? And so like, let's say that there is a need to utilize some of that DWR funding. Would that be something that could qualify?
I don't know, we'd have to talk to, we'll have to set up a meeting with Nate to kind of go into the specifics of what's available, and he's done a great job of, you know, providing assistance and guidance
Yeah,
where we need to. So that's something that we could have that discussion if there's a possibility.
We
yeah.
like creativity, Nate.
Yeah, we love creativity, Nate. He's like purposely, I was like, phone can't review it. He's like, oh, Lake County. All right, anything else on that? No,
Because I
okay,
think that would inspire another topic of discussion, you know, if that's another option, when it becomes to like land swap or something like that.
yeah,
We will
Could
be
be.
open to anything to try and get to the final
yeah,
destination.
right.
Right.
All right, seeing nothing in the Zoom room. So we kind of talked about this. Is there anything else that we want to?
I haven't, I mean, we really covered basically.
That
it,
kind of
right?
covered
And
everything.
I just sent an email to Irenia to see if we can get, you know, something going again. And then let her know too, we need a representative. We would like a representative so we can kind of be on the same page.
Okay, perfect. Thank
So
you.
I'll keep following up with that, and then we'll just basically do a follow-up meeting with Habematolo, and I'm pretty sure they'll be open.
Yeah, because that was a very efficient meeting we had with them last time.
It was,
so
yeah.
Now we can just put some more structure on it. Yep.
Yep.
All right, any questions or comments from members of the public? Nope. All right, so just update with DWR. We have, of course, Nate on the call. He is our grant manager. He's been working very closely with Jordan. Appreciate him being on the call and following along and really getting up to speed on the project in general. And then just a big appreciation for Jordan for getting us up to speed in terms of reporting and conversations back and forth between appraisals, what's reviewed, what's been approved, what, you know, what edits need to be made, and then just, of course, submitting the quarterly reports. Do you have anything else?
Only that Betsmanian and Seychelles are with DWR, are the reappraisals.
Perfect.
That's my only.
Awesome. And we've been seeing a lot faster turnaround time for correspondence and review,
Good.
so that's been great.
Yes.
So a quick question. I know that our grant that we have currently is restricted in certain ways, right? As we talked
Yes.
about with eminent domain. But I receive CSAC grant opportunities every week, and some of them are for things that seem to specify the project we're working on. Do some of those other grants that sometimes become available, would they be able to provide us other funding sources that we could use for things like eminent domain? I'm
It's
just
written in.
Yeah,
kind of curious, and maybe that conversation with Nate is to look at, hey, we see that we have these other grant opportunities. Here are some places where we're gonna have to use our general fund money to cover this. Can we utilize, because I see a lot of flood control, I see a lot of restoration projects that get submitted.
Yeah.
Big push for the hitch.
And thank you, I was gonna bring up the hitch as well. Can we combine some of these things where, again, we're not having to use our general fund dollars, but we can use some of the other funds available?
mhm. Yeah, and that's a good, I mean, we've talked about that, I know, in the past, so definitely in favor of trying to leverage every resource we have, but if there's a way that we could do,
I would just say, definitely worth exploring other grant money opportunities, but also maybe the sellers will become willing sellers, so I'd want.
That would be amazing.
I'd want to wait the longest possible for that
Yeah.
to explore.
And the ones that we know for
It's a
sure are
long
not.
process to get the money.
Also,
Yeah.
that is very true.
So if you don't mind, I'll keep sending stuff. I think I
Yes.
usually send it to Scott. I don't know if I usually CC you as
Please
well.
send it to
So I'll
me.
CC you as well.
And then
Uh,
CC Jordan.
Every time I see something that says that a grant funding is available and it looks like it fits within the project, I'll go ahead and pass it.
Yes, please send that over our way. So, awesome, okay. Cool, anything else on that front? No? All right, yay, project area property maintenance. We found some dump sites the other day. So, we've already had discussions with roads because a lot of these are right on
All
their
of them are right
on the
road.
roads, so Public Works is very well aware of what needs to be picked up. This refrigerator has been there for a
I
long
can't-
time.
That's a
That one might
refrigerator?
be a new one. I was thinking about it. I really thought that Fred had picked up, and I forgot to ask him this morning. I thought he
So
had
that might
picked
be
it
a
up,
new,
and I think
Now I
that's a
see
new
it.
fridge, because I feel like the other one was like a brownish color.
I know, and it smelled like, it seemed like
I
there was
did
like
not smell
meat
it ever.
and bloody
You are
like stuff.
nuts.
Okay, well, I'm still here. I've survived.
Barely.
Health issues wise, it was a year ago, so
Oh,
maybe something will
gosh.
pop up, but, okay, maybe it
Either
was
way.
brown.
What?
I don't know. Anyways, here's the
You
dump
picked up
sites.
the
It got rained on.
Yeah.
Gross.
So, again, so Public Works will be going out there in the next few weeks to pick up those dump sites.
So did any of the cameras catch anything?
We've had a really hard time with the cameras. They keep
Yeah.
stealing them. So I don't have any out right now because it's a problem. However, what I am looking at and working with roads is putting another gate so that they cannot go further down. And so it's only the road that actually, this is all on the road, but there's a known dump site all the way down right before it leads out into the levees. So I'm trying to block that off because we own all that anyways. And
Okay.
there's people that camp out there, so I want to put a gate
Yeah.
in closer up and
So,
rocks.
quick question, how often do you guys check to see if there's new dump sites? How often are you
So
out
we
there?
were going at least once a week, but we are just so short-staffed and really busy and mowing levees. We just don't have time to go out there as often.
Cause I'm wondering
A
is,
presence made a difference.
how many entry points are there?
Well, if there's only 2 entry points,
But people find and make more.
But I'm talking about like off Highway 20.
Oh,
Only
two, only two.
because there's
So
Reclamation Road and Reclamation
is there a
Cutoff.
way to work either, sorry, Supervisor Crandall, because I know he owns some of them, or the sheriff to see if we can move some license plate readers to put them at those entry points, so at least we can start collecting who is going
You
in
have to
there?
order new ones. I can't move mine.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the sheriff might be able to move some, because I don't know when the last time he moved some.
Could we purchase license plate readers?
We
You
could-
can.
I would say
With
one
this
hundred percent.
Yes.
Grant?
But the thing isn't, who's gonna look at those? And we
Yeah.
don't do enforcement. So we have to
No,
work
you
with-
can. So when
But I mean, like, I don't have time to watch a bunch of videos personally.
no, here's how it
They
works.
sent you a list of all the license plates within a timeline.
That's
that
cool.
you can
So what
access.
you do is you say,
Technology's cool.
okay, here's
Yeah.
the date. You say, you checked it on, September 15th. And then you find out on October 2nd that, oh, there's a dump site. Go back to September 5th or go back 30 days and see all the vehicles.
Yeah,
And that's kind of how it works,
Okay.
and then you look for like trailers, and when it comes to dumping, you just look for those type of things. So it's kind of like just a search.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's much more.
And what can happen is, because I had a conversation with, who are they again?
Flock.
Flop, they're the ones who do the cameras.
That's right.
And what you can do is, let's say, 'cause I doubt there's hundreds of vehicles that enter that area. Maybe I'm wrong, but let's just say, over the course of a month, it's 100 vehicles, right? You can enter those license plates so that you can get a buzz, or code enforcement can get a buzz saying somebody that you are looking at between
Mhm.
these dates and these dates, that there was a dump site, we have a license plate that was triggered, come out there to just check things out. It doesn't mean you're gonna arrest them, but you
Yeah.
might be able to catch them in the act. And so either it can tell that to law enforcement, like they receive something if it's a stolen vehicle,
Mhm.
or you can tell it to email code enforcement because it's a specialized issue that code enforcement would deal with. But then it allows you to collect the license plates for suspicious vehicles that were in there when there was a dump that
Mhm.
occurred, and then you slowly can dwindle it down.
Cool.
So
The other
I think
thing
there's
about it
use.
is that you can give access to the sheriff's department so they can have it as well.
Oh.
So they can know like if, because they use it just to find cars. And then I have a way to, on the other ingress and egress points, all in the district, I can look as well. We have one at Pile Road too.
Oh,
And
nice.
so like you give me a license plate, hey, this license plate is the one. All I gotta do is type it in and see where I seen it at, and we can just triangulate from that point forward. Yeah.
All right.
So it's really, it is a little effort, but not as much as,
Yeah.
you know.
Watching videos.
It's like,
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
sit and watch
Yeah.
videos, guys.
With
Great.
popcorn at
Cool.
night.
Yeah,
And if you know it's like a red Ford truck or something, you just type in all the red Ford trucks from this date to this
Okay.
date, and then I do the same. Bam,
Right.
yeah.
Great.
CIS overlay.
I think I think they're 2,500 a year.
It's per, I think per, yeah, so like
And you go
for,
through the company Flock and they like
Yeah.
install and do all that.
yeah, it's 2,500 for one, and so like basically if you're doing one in and out.
Is that, I was just gonna say, is that one setup or
You
one
want to get
camera?
both. You want,
So
yeah,
it's-
so it's 5,000 for both. You want to
Okay.
do one in and
Yeah.
out. Cause I have one area where I do, they get around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it looks like you would probably want to, cover both roads. So it'd be pretty much 20 grand.
That's what I was just gonna
Yeah.
say. It's gonna be.
yeah. Does the county have any contract with Flock currently?
I
Okay,
do.
so we could,
The
if
sheriff.
we
Sheriff,
did go through
myself,
that, then
yeah.
we could go, I'm just thinking board wise, so. Okay,
Cool.
cool, so
They're pretty
let's,
good.
let's look into that. I think it would save, yes, it's pricey, but it would save a lot of hassle. And then, I mean, when we went out there just last week, one of our locks, the gate was completely cut open, so then we checked the,
Everybody
the
loves to
pump
cut the
house.
chain.
Yeah, they love to cut the chain,
But
so,
it's another way too, to like,
Yeah,
if those are the people we find, we know like, okay, you tampered with.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Lock 'em up.
yeah. Did you say flock them up?
Oh,
Oh, I was like, that's
Hey, got
perfect.
it.
Okay, wait, okay, now I need to reach out to Flock and be like, I have a pitch for you. You have to give me free.
I think I finally figured out what it means.
All right, sorry, anything else, property maintenance? We're also looking at possibly relocating some of our gates out there.
Yeah.
Okay, she's already on it. I'm sorry, just let me just drink my coffee.
We're looking at adding a gate, in, not moving.
No,
one.
yeah.
Adding, okay, we're looking at adding a gate.
Yes.
Anything else on here? Before we move on over to the next agenda item? No? Great. Army Corps of
You're out.
Engineers.
Go ahead, I'm just getting my charger.
Oh, I was like, wait, is this like, do we have like a show and tell or something? I was really excited. I didn't know what was gonna happen.
You thought I was gonna what?
It's show and tell. I don't know. I thought you were
Oh,
gonna
no,
get
no.
something. So yeah, we've been having they've been monthly, I think,
Yes.
meetings,
If not more.
if
Yeah, I
not
think even
more.
every other week.
I just show up. With Army Corps of Engineers, we're getting them information regarding some of their asks for their validation study. I know that they are still in the research phase, but it seems like they're wrapping things up. Sounds like with their research phase, once they get some additional information from us. And then next steps with that, they'll be just compiling all that information. I don't really know the process of how they do and complete the validation study. But we sit in on those meetings. We actually, the coordinator for that, Jenny, did reach out to Nathan. So I believe we're gonna start having DWR in on those validation studies. We have some of our tribal communities as well, the county, Army Corps, and now DWR. So it's just a really good team, as the people that are actually on the boots on the ground and doing the work and getting things done. So, yeah. Anyone else? I know, Bruno, you've sat in on a few, and
Please correct me if I ever say anything incorrect.
Nope.
I don't want to answer this. I think I know the answer, but I don't want
Totally.
to respond with an I think.
totally fine. So those meetings, yeah, they're there, they happen. Anything else to add to that?
I appreciate the fact that we're engaged with.
Yeah.
The Army Corps.
That's the biggest thing is we're having these discussions. We know who to contact and sometimes they miss a few emails from us with information that we've already shared 4 months ago, but it's fine, minor things.
Just doing your job for them. just a
Yes,
tiny bit.
it's okay. I'm gonna drink my coffee. Anything else?
No, I'm glad we are, we're working with them too.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Anything else from the Zoom room? And Daniela isn't on those meetings as well. Great. Okay. PG&E, we do have another item added, 9.2. So I don't know if we want to. I have nothing for item 9.1. Updates and next steps and communications with PG&E, but we did have an added item,
The
9.2.
only thing I did do is Linda Rivera from PG&E reached out to me and I just asked if there's someone we can talk to about, because we haven't talked to them in a while.
Yeah.
So if there's any way we can talk to them, and she said she'd look into who's the project lead on that and put us together with them or something like that. But that was just the other day.
Okay. Great. Well, let me know if I can facilitate any discussion or
I will.
whatnot.
Or if they can even send someone here.
Yeah, that would be great. We can go out there and check out things and do a little tour. All right, so did you want to highlight item 9.2?
Yeah, so for item 9.2, PG&E in 2019 submitted letters about the distribution and transmission wires that are going through the project area and needed $100,000 for each one of those lines for them to start their design of what needs to happen once the project starts to actually get constructed. Obviously, for the transmission, we're well aware they want to lift up the transmission, potentially do some sort of road access, which seems to just create a levee within an area that we took down the levee. So I'm concerned what that looks like. And I think, I don't know, a wooden bridge sounds ridiculous as well,
What
but
about a
anyways.
really long swale that only comes up at the?
Yeah, we'll have to see what they come up with before we really say yes or no, but at this moment in time, that's their thought process. I don't know what's gonna happen with the distribution lines, especially if we don't need to have a pump out there or things like that, so I don't know what we would be paying $100,000 to, unless there's really a need to continue having access to electricity out there. But nonetheless, we have 2 letters from 2019. I wanted to pass it by here first. I feel like I should ask, is it still $100,000? Because that was from 2019 versus us saying, yes, let's allocate $200,000 for both of the $100,000 design down payments they're looking for. Because I want to make sure that we've allocated the right amount, but I'm also concerned about asking and they come back and they double the amount. But eventually they're going to ask what they need no matter what. And so I haven't asked PG&E. They resubmitted those letters from 2019 to us because Army Corps was asking for the PG&E information. They didn't update that amount, so I can somewhat assume that let's move forward, but I also feel like I should ask, we're planning to allocate the right amount of funds to make this possible so we can get started. Is this still the right amount for us to do a down payment on to get this design started from PG&E? So I'm asking you guys 2 questions. 1, should I communicate with PG&E and make sure that this is the right amount that needs to be allocated out of our general fund so that we can go ahead and pay PG&E to start these designs? Or B, just go to the Board of Supervisors and ask for the board to allocate the $200,000 so that we're ready to get PG&E to move forward on their design. Either way, I would like to get the approval from this committee to go to the board. It's a matter of, are we asking for $200,000 because that's what the letters say, or do we ask for whatever PG&E now tells us is the true amount that it would cost us to allocate?
What about saying to them, we assume since you submitted 100,000 to the Army Corps, although the letter at 100,000, that is the amount that you need to start.
Okay.
Just do it as a declarative.
And let them know we plan to bring to the board an allocation of $200,000. We assume that this is still the cost in order to get the design process started. And maybe 100,000 is like across the board, no matter what project we ask
Yeah.
them, it's still 100,000.
Then they
So
build up after.
yeah, oh, I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
So PG&E is a corporation. And they make money selling this electricity.
Mhm.
So I have trouble with the public entity, the County of Lake, paying for a design for them to keep their business going.
Yeah.
So, but how do I have to see it? I have to see it as the County of Lake is proposing this project that changes the structure that PG&E requires, right?
Yeah.
Even though they're making money selling the electricity, because we are changing the terrain, it is our responsibility to pay for the design and the execution of.
Yeah,
that
if you
they-
put yourself in the chairman of the board of PG&E, assuming they have a board, we're perfectly fine with no water being there and we'll just continue making money. But you're cutting into our profits by
Putting
needing-
water there.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't say cutting the profits. From what they've been telling us, it's a issue of lack of access for maintenance and issue of potential safety if their
Okay.
transmission towers are surrounded by water.
Feels like
Even
it's
though as
just-
a layman, I would say travel to Calusa, the city of Calusa. And on your left-hand side, as you're traveling, I've seen those transmission towers absolutely deep in the water because it floods out there all the time.
my understanding is, and could be totally wrong, is they want a different type of structure.
Two different things that I still have an issue with the fact that they never answer a question about what happens if the levees break now.
Yeah.
And who's
That's-
responsible
yeah.
for it? Second, this is a question, and, you know, I may be wrong, because is it our project or is it Army Corps working with us for the project? Because if it's Army Corps, then I'm like, why isn't Army Corps negotiating with them what that
That's what we
amount is?
brought up.
You know?
Yeah,
And they feel like it's on us.
It's part of the LERD.
It's part of the.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, the
Yeah.
LERDs.
The alert
That's right,
said that any
okay.
utilities
And we
is,
are the non-federal sponsor.
That's right.
They're not even considered a sponsor. They're the lead agency.
I also though see this as a great opportunity for PG&E to do a mitigation project. I mean, if I'm thinking like them, I know they're not everyone's favorite here, so why don't they?
I said the same thing back
And-
then.
Even less popular.
I appreciate this conversation, but I know I find it hard. I'm with you, Dr. Lyons, and I see why we have to pay, but it's just really hard for me. We are struggling, you know, we have a lot of things to do with this project and moving forward with it. And if there's an opportunity to have PG&E cut some of those costs, and
Yeah, because like.
I don't know the logistics of it, but
three or
yeah,
Four different aspects. One, when they cut our vegetation, they're leaving it and they're putting us in a position to have to defend ourselves with the public right now. They're raking us under the coals with the Scott Dam situation. There's so many other things that I could think of. You would think that with something this small,
yeah,
100,000 to them is small.
compared to 100,000 for us, that's a big chunk of change.
But
so.
yeah, I'm glad you brought up LERDs because that, I remember now
Yeah,
that
that's
was.
the alerts,
yeah.
and that's what they would say to you too.
Yeah.
They said, oh no, this is your responsibility
I don't
because
like it.
it's part of the alerts.
so what I would suggest is all we would be asking from the board is to allocate.
Mhm.
If we were going to give them $100,000, it would have to come back to the board for agreement.
Yeah.
And I think that allocating it opens a spot at the table to negotiate how that's gonna work out. And right now, I feel that if we don't start engaging with PG&E to figure out what the plan is on something that's within this project, we can have the validation study done, we can have the properties purchased, and we're still not anywhere close to being done with what PG&E needs to do. And the transmission lines are an important aspect of everything within our community, so we can't just say, move the project forward and whatever happens, happens. There could be some adverse effects that we're not aware of what could happen. Now, I'm not gonna make those up, but maybe there's nothing that could happen, right? But I think that it's just an allocation of funds to show we're serious, that we want to move forward. I think it opens up a spot at the table for negotiations. And I think that's when we bring up all those comments that we just made, saying,
Here's your chance to look good.
Yeah.
where can we
Yeah.
figure out how to make you a part of the sponsorship of this project rather than a recipient of the funds of this project? This is important to us, blah, blah, blah. I think that we can bring all those things up. And I like the idea of just making a statement to PG&E based on the letters that you have submitted to us. We're going to look at allocating the $200,000 in order to help move this project along. And not even asking any questions, just letting them know. And if they want to correct it after that email, then obviously we need to correct it on our end. But without any updated letters or anything like that, I think we just move forward with the 200 and just be kind enough to let them know that that will occur. There are two funds that I'm looking at pulling from. We have a code enforcement, water resources, and planning fund.
Yeah.
And there's about $400,000. I think it's like $436,000, and that's cannabis taxes that have been set aside for that. So we can pull $100,000 from there. That's where we originally got our $800,000 from. And then there's another one that's what's the other one? Risk reduction and something else. I forget what the other thing, but this is a risk reduction. This is a flood control project. And so we can pull out $100,000 out of that. So we can either choose to take both from both buckets, or I would suggest if we're gonna do all $200,000 from one bucket, we choose the risk reduction, because I believe there's $1.1 million in that bucket of available funds. And it's, in a sense, it's restricted because it's restricted to those categories, but it's general fund, it's unrestricted. We can use it for whatever we want. But this fits the category. So I just wanted to get approval from this committee to be able to move that in front of the Board of Supervisors so that you're aware that we're asking that, and that you're in approval that we are asking for that to happen as well.
There was a figure of $75,000 that was sent to Scott De Leon. I think it was in 2017 or 2018. And that was, so that has jumped quite a bit, but that's neither here nor there. It just seems like, is that the letter? What this letter in 2019, was it to Scott?
No, it was EJ and I met with Kelly something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
From PG&E,
Yeah,
and after that, he sent us those letters. Are you thinking a bigger number? And you just,
750.
are you thinking 7.5 million? Because that is the belief of the
Okay,
cost
okay.
of the entire project.
Okay, all right.
In
that's-
20
You have the same numbers, just with less
Yes.
zeros, and I think you're
Yeah.
hoping.
Was that's the 2019 estimate?
Yes.
Dreams of an old gentleman.
Do we have any more discussion on this, or pretty clear, and we'll just vote on it now?
If you guys want to vote on it, and there's no public comment,
Any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
then I move to place a consideration for the Board of Supervisors to approve the $200,000 allocation coming from one or both of those budgets that I've described to you guys.
I second.
So I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Let us know if you need anything.
You'll be-
So we'll leave it
I'll
up
keep
to
you
the
posted.
board to decide source.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool. All right. Moving on. That's not what I wanted to do.
Legislative funds, any update?
I have no update in terms of legislative funds.
Which would, I mean, if that counts in board, we've already covered that. Project funding or legislative updates. I'm sorry, why did I put funds? Updates, that's what it was. But project funding, and that pretty much is what we discussed just now, so.
I have extra copies.
Oh, no, she has something.
Two.
Oh, well, this didn't print out right, but you guys are smart, so I can send you, you printed out the wrong way, my bad. I have 3 copies, so I can send, this will also be included, yeah. This will be included in the minutes. I just, for those folks in the Zoom room, I just passed out the hard copy of it. So Jackie, our accountant, is awesome possum, and she prepared just a breakdown. This is outlining the remaining funds that we have in our middle, or in our, sorry, in our DWR agreement 4600129946. And these are the funds for the acquisition of Willing Seller. So I'll walk through and just hit some high level parts. If this is something that folks want to see every meeting, every other meeting, again, things don't change that drastically between 2 months, but I do think it is nice just to provide updates when things do change routinely, and it doesn't take,
Or maybe at least once a year.
Yeah.
yeah. I would say at least once or twice a year, especially as we're moving through, um, as we're moving through, the acquisition. So just high level parts as we walk through this. So task one admin, and again, this is all outlined. I'm not gonna sit here and read this to you guys, but if you want a copy of the DWR agreement, it might be beneficial just to include that in the minutes as well. I'm saying that out loud so Jordan can
Yeah.
remind me.
So, the funds are good through.
2028. Yeah. So you'll see what we can actually use for each of these tasks. So task one, you can see that we've used about 38% of it. That's basically just staff time. So the amount of time that Jordan and I and De Leon spend on working on this grant, doing the admin, doing the oversight. Jackie, when she prepares the very thorough and very intense billing invoices sent to DWR. And then, of course, the other remaining of that, so we spent about 22% of the 38 on staff time. So that kind of gives a breakdown. The remainder is basically funds outside for appraisal, consultant, surveying, and other real estate services. And then you can see task two, groundwork, if you're following along in the DWR agreement, that's known as the relocation demo. We haven't spent next to anything with that just because we've been busy acquiring these parcels, but that's something that Jordan and I will be moving forward with. We have to do the demo for the Torrance Vigil, and then we have some new parcels that we've acquired. I know that Mountain Oaks might have some structures on it, et cetera. So,
Leave the barn and the Montanos, it's above.
well, that's the thing. We probably won't demo that, but I don't know.
It's very picturesque.
Yes, it is
Above.
it's a very beautiful barn. Yeah, I would love to use it to have a little field station in it. If you need to go.
I do, but I would just wanted to talk really quick. Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
It was brought up at Sierra Club meeting of possibly, instead of demoing some of these houses, relocating them. I said that I'd explore that. I don't think it's gonna be possible with the monies that we have, because our money is for demoing.
Yeah.
Also, I don't have time to hire the consultant to relocate these homes, and then all the permitting that's involved with wide load on the roads and everything. So I just wanted to bring that up.
I
really
wanted to
quick.
commend Jordan on her presentation
thanks.
on Thursday, and particularly her patience with the Sierra Club people when they made the suggestion, because I had to hold myself back.
Yeah,
was
I know, I was
in front of
like,
my
come
little
on.
Computer, I wanted to say,
It's not
we've been
possible.
working with the United States Army Corps of Engineers and the California Department of Water Resources for 20 years.
Yeah.
And the one thing we learned is, if you come up with something, what was the word you used, Renee? Some creativity,
Yeah.
they go from slow to really slow. And it's just, as a
It's just
matter
not
like,
feasible to do.
it's a naivete, but enjoyable, and I was very appreciative of naivete, and you were good. You
Thanks.
didn't say, are you crazy? You want us to move
We're not
these
gonna relocate
homes?"
these old, I was like, well, and some of these are very old and, not
So.
great anymore.
Yeah.
But then there was a comment of like, well, old homes sometimes are, great. I'm like, well, yeah, you're right.
Well, for
Looks like the
example,
Barwood is very in.
The Torrance Vigil
Right.
property is completely stripped.
Yeah. no,
And
it's
when
not.
these folks,
So
thank you,
people are
Jordan.
recycling on their own.
They, well, and
I think that's cool. I mean, there is a home shortage, but it's just, that's not the answer. I have to go because I have
All right,
another
well,
meeting.
Thank
anyway, you did a great
you.
job.
All right,
So
thanks,
is
see you
this
guys.
something that's gonna become like a lawsuit, like, you know, how we have those situations with other areas?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who's in the group or whatnot, but I know that when we worked on other projects, because we didn't do something like this, then
Yeah.
now we're put in a position to have a closed session item because we didn't move the homes, and I'm
Yeah, I
just
don't think
concerned.
so. I don't
Okay,
think so.
okay.
No, I don't think that.
If there's
they
no
were
money
just-
in the grant to do it,
Right.
how can,
And plus, we own the homes
Yeah.
if we bought the property.
that's
So I
true.
think that gives us an extra, if we demolish somebody else's, then I think there might be an option for
Yeah.
that.
Well, and
There's always an option for that.
we're buying these properties with the understanding that eventually all of this is gonna be on. That's why we've done the environmental
But
compliance
I
and,
assume the appraisal took into account the fact there were,
yep,
so you paid fair market value.
yeah, you paid, because that's, and
Own it.
businesses too, and that's the thing, but again, the objective is, that's why we have the relocation and demolition and cleanup, because the big part of that is the cleanup portion of it. Any well, we have to, close out any well, any underground storage tank, anything of that nature, we have to completely get rid of that. Because, I mean,
Yeah,
it's eventually gonna be
yeah.
restored to wetlands, so
Yeah,
that's just an extra layer that we don't have the capacity for, we don't have the
Yeah,
funding
and-
for, and
And it's well-meaning suggestions.
Yeah,
And they're good
absolutely.
suggestions for people on their private actions, they can do that. But this
Yes.
is a government, we are the government.
yes,
and I just think that,
There's a certain efficiency required, especially with the United States Army Corps of
Yeah.
Engineers.
yeah, I just think that too, we have to be ready for. I know that there was grumbling in there about this, not grumbling, but concern. If it comes to us in another, we have to be kind of on the same page as explaining, like, look, this is why it can't happen.
Yeah,
Because I could just, I'm only hearing this because I hear other people that don't understand the process
Mhm.
saying, well, we're in a a homeless shortage, why are we,
yeah,
and, or something like that, and maybe someone in a different committee that has to do with homelessness might throw that. I just want to be on the same page with how we explain it to them, so if
Yeah.
that does come to us.
yeah.
perfect.
So we are.
All right,
And then moving on, acquisition costs, of course, this is for our favorite, actual acquisitions. Let's see, this does not though include the recent Sealy purchase. As Jordan said, escrow just closed. If included, it puts the remaining acquisition funds at about 3.5 million. So the next time we present this, Sealy will be in there along with all the other parcels that we are in the process of working through escrow. Task 4, hydraulic mitigation. Again, we haven't touched this one. We need to acquire the parcels before we even touch the hydraulic mitigation aspect. And then task 5, which is property maintenance.
So what is hydraulic? mitigation?
It's all outlined here. Once trust is transferred, arrange a contract to elevate the parking lot and obtain overflow easements. Elevation of the facilities will require development of engineered plans and specifications, competitive bidding for construction contract and construction of the improvements. All constructions will be subject to the appropriate local, state, and federal regulations. We've talked about this, that will probably change. So again, similar with every other contract, if we need to make an amendment to this contract and move those funds and reallocate those funds elsewhere for this project, then we'll work with DWR, who had to hop off this call, to do that. So I've talked about that before. There's a good chance we'll possibly amend that specific task. And then task 5, property maintenance, will be billed against for Sealy property acquisition with our next invoice. And then, of course, all those funds go into our, we call it BU 1674, our budget unit 1674, which is the maintenance trust fund. And then, the contingency, that is 0%. I'm not quite sure where that comes from. I actually asked my accountant and she's looking into it now because she's not quite sure off the top of her head. But I know that one's not outlined in the actual DWR agreement as a task. So that kind of gives you an idea of where the funds, where we've used them, how we use them, etc.
An excellent chart.
Jackie is
Very
phenomenal with
pretty.
numbers. Yeah, she's great. Yes.
So quick question, if we're down to about, and I'm just making up a number, 3.5 million or whatever it was after the fact that Sealy has been purchased, you have other appraisals that you should be aware approximately what the cost of those appraisals will be. Where do we find ourselves in the grand scheme of purchasing the rest of the properties with the money that's left over?
Yeah, so I can't speak on behalf of DWR, but again, for example, we have, a little under 700,000 for hydraulic mitigation that we haven't touched. So there's a possibility we can amend that and shift some of those funds over.
There's contingency.
And there's contingency, and also DWR has invested a lot of money into this financially, so they ask for projections. So every other month I send them projections of, here are the appraisals, here's what we're planning on acquiring in the horizon. So we're all on the same page. So nothing, knock on wood, should come at a surprise. So they do projections, quarterly, they do projections near term, long term, from this year onward as well. They see all the appraisals, they review them. So we're all very well, like, in the loop of
See those numbers next time?
the projections.
Yeah,
Yeah, I pull those directly from the appraisals that are done.
yeah.
And
No, I
then-
understand that, but
Yeah,
I I'd just like to see them. I have dyslexia. so-
Yeah. So do you want just to see the appraisals, like, based off the appraisals that were approved, how much that is looking at too? Like what that total cost is? Is that what you're asking?
What about the ones that, and the ones that have gone to DWR?
Yeah, the approved ones. Yeah, so I'm only looking at the approved ones because those are the
Approved by
ones,
whom?
DWR,
Okay,
yeah,
but they have some that they're looking at right now too.
correct, yeah, so we can include those as well. But I would want to separate those between the approved ones and the
Right.
ones that are still in review,
Sure.
because you
We're not
never
sure
know.
if that's gonna be
You
approved.
never, yeah.
Are they unapproved any?
They've provided some comments on some, but since I've been sending them contracts, their real estate office has, or sorry, appraisals, their real estate office has not approved one. And that's why we have an expert who has been working with DWR and Grants Monument, you know, they've been doing this, so they know exactly what DWR is looking for.
Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? I'm not making a note. Any questions from folks in the Zoom room? No, okay. So we will keep going. Caltrans, updates and next steps in communication with Caltrans. I
I
do,
don't have.
Yeah.
anything either.
I do not have anything right now with Caltrans.
Caltrans, I have a question about Caltrans. Is Caltrans like PG&E in terms of the cost we can expect? I assume that they will also want some plans and whatnot. And then, so that's something to consider as well, that we will face that at some point.
What would be the most appropriate place? Do you think Caltrans Deal is a place to ask about how this project will impact them? And if we can, or just reach out to our Caltrans
I think
representative?
reaching out
and-
to them,
Okay.
more Manny,
Yeah, we've been in connection with them. Yeah, I just was thinking about that.
Especially if we are getting word from Robinson that the ring levy is definitely a no, then we definitely know that there will be an impact.
yeah, because their road in front of the casino is what they're looking at coming up there,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
But Manny is the one I think that we can contact on that.
Okay. Yeah, and feel free to loop me in. Definitely would want De Leon's input since he is the road guy. He knows
Yeah.
roads way better than I do.
He covers both.
I think he knows a thing or two about roads. But yeah, please loop me in that conversation. And then real quick, I did just get an update from our accountant regarding the contingency. I don't mean to backtrack, but it falls in perfectly. So we haven't tapped into it, but that is basically, I hate the term slush fund, but I'm gonna use it here. That's a slush fund in case we need to pull, if we've maxed out task 3.
Reserves.
There, thank you, supervisor. Perfect. I've done this before. Those are our reserves, so we can pull from the contingency budget. So again, another opportunity that falls in nicely. That's good for everyone to know. But as you can see, we are well within, we don't anticipate to be pulling from that anytime soon. So
Perfect.
sorry, I didn't mean to backtrack, but I did want to share that.
Public expression.
Are there any, moving on to agenda item 13, are any friends in the Zoom room want to share public expression, comments, kudos, concerns? Not seeing anything. Great. All right, so discussion, or sorry, 14 non-timed items, discussion of additional Middle Creek Project Committee meeting locations. I know we were talking about this last time and there was a few ideas, but by the December, our next meeting, which is in December, I would like to have that schedule outlined. So I want to make sure that I make any reservations for different rooms that are outside of here. I know that it was brought up possibly having meetings in Lower Lake or Clear Lake. I'm fine with that if the committee wants that. I don't think it's necessary considering the project area is in Upper Lake. I would rather have, you know, half the project or half the meetings here and then rotate between Upper Lake and this location. that makes it easier, especially for us, is just setting up meetings and then having to travel over there. It just makes it more consistent, and then especially when it comes to scheduling. So if my opinion matters, that is my recommendation. I know there's a few community locations in Upper Lake area. I know that you guys have some facilities up there as well. And then I know that there's the community center
Yeah.
and the casino, so we can get creative. That's what I have to say on that. And then, of course, we'll meet here in conference room C. And of course, we're still planning on keeping hybrid options as well. I think that works for folks. So any additional comments or concerns with that?
I agree with that.
Okay,
I think it makes sense.
great. Awesome. So then what I will do is I will reach out to folks, maybe Rodman Preserve, the Land Trust building, we can have a meeting or so there, the community center. So I'll start having staff look into making some of those reservations, and then I would like to present the schedule during the December meeting for the following year, just so people have that well in advance. Any questions from the community regarding that? No? All right. On that note, so we will be meeting December 4th at 10:30 a.m. via Zoom and in person. We'll meet here, conference room C, in person for that. We won't have any hiccups with the Zoom moving forward. I say that I have to be, right? And then, of course, Kelly does a great job of making sure everything gets on YouTube. If you miss it, or if you're bored and you want to watch the meeting again because it was so much fun and you're having withdrawals before our next meeting, you can find it there. Yeah, go to sleep. And then the agenda center, and then on our water resources website. So I have. That's it.
If there's anything else, we'll adjourn.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for friends on Zoom for joining us. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Sounded like a